supervisor portion of the demonstration, we'll be covering how to correct missed punches and timesheets, how to approve timesheets, as well as how to approve time off requests and make any adjustments to schedules. So once we actually log into the LC Pro system once again, I'm going to log in as a supervisor. And to access the system as a supervisor, we'll select My Team Time Management. The difference between accessing the system as a supervisor versus as yourself or an employee. Myself is accessing it as yourself, the employee. My Team is how you access your team. So we're going to select Time Management. Anytime you log into the system and you actually have messages that are in your inbox, you will be prompted to review those messages. You can do so now or do so later. Notice the inbox up here in the top right-hand corner of the screen. If I select Cancel, because I don't want to read them now, it'll populate with a number of messages. And let me see if I can get my screen to enlarge. There we go. What we see when we log into the system is what we've called our dashboard. The dashboard will provide information. It's like a snapshot view that will include information regarding your in and out board, the exception summary, approaching overtime, the timesheet statuses, whether they've been submitted by your employees or not, and ready for your approval. And it'll also provide you a snapshot of any type of pending time off request. So if we look at the dashboard directly, up here in the left-hand side is our exception summary. This information will display any information regarding missed punches. One of the most important things to remember about the dashboard is anything that is in a blue font is considered a hyperlink. If I clicked on missed punch, it will take me to the timesheet that has a missed punch on it. I have one timesheet with a missed punch currently. In the center of my screen, I have approaching overtime. You have the ability to set your own threshold. If you are watching your hours or labor hours to make sure employees are not going into an overtime situation in a weekly basis, you could actually select the edit button. So if we pretend it's Tuesday of the work week, and you want to know anybody on Monday that had already exceeded 8 hours of time or maybe 9 hours of time, you could change your threshold to 9 hours. And it will look for the pay period of November 29th to December 12th. By choosing Close Edit, it will then look for any employee that had greater than 9 hours in that period of time and display that on your screen. This would allow you to be able to look at the employee's timesheet compared to what they are scheduled for the remainder of the week to see if you need to make any adjustments to their schedule. Beneath that is our in and out board. The in and out board is a quick glance so you know who is currently on or off the clock. If they're out, they're currently punched out. If they're in, they're currently punched in. You can also sort these by clicking on the column headers because they're blue, and it will resort the order of the information that's seen. If you had multiple employees and you wanted to search by last name alphabetically, you could click on the last name. It will sort it alphabetically for you. In the top right-hand corner of our screen is our time off request. Time off request gives you a quick glance of how many vacation, sick, or bereavement time off requests are in a pending status. Just like the exception summary, if I clicked on any of these, they're blue, they're a hyperlink, it will take me directly to that time off request so I can either approve it or decline it. The next section on our dashboard is our approval status. There's 4 statuses of a timesheet. When an employee's timesheet is open for the pay period and has not been submitted by the employee, it's considered open. Once the employee submits their timesheet to their manager to be approved, it's considered in a submit status. Once the manager has reviewed the submitted timesheet and has approved it, the manager has put the timesheet into an approved status. Once it's approved, it goes into payroll for payroll processing, and once it's been processed for payroll, it will go into a payroll status. One thing to note on this status, it will show the number of timesheets in each one of those statuses in your dashboard. Moving right along with our PowerPoint, we'll talk about the summary. So the dashboard and the summary are two really key pieces for a supervisor to use in the system, kind of at a snapshot glance of your employees' information. To get to the summary, we'll go to the Attendance tab up in the top left-hand corner of the screen and select the Summary tab. In the summary, you have the option of various things to filter by. Pay cycle is automatically set for you. Just like the employee timesheets, you can choose your date range. If you choose current, last, or next, the dates are automatically selected for you. User-defined pay period will require you to enter a date or select your date from the calendar itself. For demos today, we're going to stay with the current pay period. You may also choose to set different filters. Maybe you only want to see employees that are in a certain location or job. If you chose any type of filter such as that, you will have an additional drop-down menu, which you could choose an additional filter option. For demo today, I'm going to keep it set at all. If you would like to search by an employee's name, you can do so, or their employee number. Type in their name and select Go. It will indicate the number of employees found based on the search criteria you entered. If you had multiple employees found, you can use the arrows to go to the left or to the right, and it will take you to the next employee located. It will also indicate what employee was located down below by putting an arrow next to their name. If you're done filtering, you could actually select the X that will get rid of the filter, and your number found disappear. An additional status you could filter by is the timesheet status. If you only wanted to see what employees had submitted their timesheet, you could select Submit. It will then display only the employees who submitted their timesheet. Our employee disappeared because our employee had not submitted their timesheet yet. I'm going to go ahead and default it back to all. This active only option here is if you have active only selected, it will only display employees in your view that are currently active. If you uncheck it, it will also display any terminated employees or inactive employees in the system. We advise you to keep it set at active only. Beneath here you can see that there's Save and Approve This page, and there's information for column headers across the page. The ID is the employee number. Obviously the name is the employee's name. Missed punch will display any employee that has a missed punch on their timesheet that requires your attention and your correction. Regular hours will be displayed for each individual employee, as well as their overtime or double time hours if applicable. It will also display the total hours for the pay period in which you're viewing. On the right-hand side will be the timesheet status. If you select the drop-down button, you could actually approve that employee's timesheet directly from here. However, you may not approve a timesheet that has a missed punch. You will receive an error message once you hit Save. In order to fix that missed punch, all of these are blue hyperlinks. Anytime you have employees here that are blue hyperlinks, you may click on it. It will take you directly to the timesheet. The one thing I want to point out is during our demo, we only have one employee on display. As a supervisor, you will only see employees that you are authorized to see on your page. All these column headers are also blue, so they're hyperlinks. When you have multiple employees that report to you, if you only want to see those who have missed punches, you can select the missed punch column header, and that will resort those employees to the top who have missed punches. You could also do the same for the regular and overtime columns to view the number of employees with the number of hours they have in the pay period to make sure their timesheets are accurate. make sure you're following along on the PowerPoint with me. We're now going to actually go into a physical timesheet and go through how to read the timesheet itself. So remember, as we're in the system, anything that's the blue is a hyperlink. It will take me directly to the timesheet by clicking on it. This opens up the timesheet view. This will look very similar to what the employees see. However, on the left-hand side, when you have multiple employees to choose from, you will need to select the employee you would like to work with from the list of employees available. You may also use the search criteria, just like on the summary page, and type in their name and select the looking glass. It will bring up the employees in which have the name test in their name. It also displays the number of people found. Just so you know, if you have the filter option, if I had found 10 people and my list consists of 50 people, I could actually select the filter option and it will isolate so I only see the 10 people in which have the name test in their name. Once I'm done with that filter, I can select cancel. I would be able to view all of my employees in the list again. There's also the filter options on the timesheet list, just like there was on the summary page. This green push pin or tack up here in the right-hand corner, as long as it is directed or pointing down, your list of employees will stay stagnant. If you click on it, it will be horizontal, and your list will become a collapsible view. Whatever you prefer, you may set it at. I prefer mine to be setting down so we can have a stagnant list of employees. As we view the employee timesheet, at the top, the date range appears the same as what the employee had. From our supervisor's perspective, the only thing I'll bring up as far as the different type of timesheets, there's also an hourly timesheet for your salaried or your Arizona salespeople that will have a different viewpoint. I'm going to go back to the detail for today. Underneath our date range is our employee information. Notice that there's also ability to go directly to that employee schedule. We're not going to go into details about schedules today, but I just want you to be aware that that is there. Underneath the employee's name, if we hover over these pieces of information, it will tell us the location, the job, etc. that they are assigned to in the system. Underneath there, we have the same type of icons the employee did. The only thing is we have one additional icon, which is called an insert repost, and we will cover that momentarily. And our approve button says approve as opposed to submit. So the managers will select approve when they're ready to approve a timesheet. Beneath here is the timesheet information, exactly how the employees saw it. However, as a supervisor, you have the ability to make changes. So notice that on Monday, December 1st, there's a missed punch, which is indicated from the red cell block. In order to correct that missed punch, you may go directly in the cell by clicking on it and typing in the correction. Please note that if you're entering time, you must enter an AM or PM following the time. If I failed to enter an AM or PM after the time, the system will automatically default it to an AM. You may also enter time using military, if you prefer. Anytime you make an adjustment or change to the timesheet, notice once I entered the military, it changed it to standard, but you must enter the save button. Once I select save, the red cell or missed punch will go away. You may also use an insert repost function. So maybe an employee failed to clock in for the day, but they clocked out. So we have an out time of 5 p.m. We need to enter their in time for the day or their start time for the day. Or maybe we need to enter their lunch time because they failed to clock in or out. So you can see on Tuesday, December 2nd, this employee failed to clock in or out for lunch. The insert repost functionality allows you to enter time, and the system will automatically insert it into the timesheet based on the date or the time order in which you've entered. So if we'd like to enter a lunch punch for this employee, they left for lunch at 11:30 a.m., they returned at 12 p.m. I can select my date and enter my time. When I select OK, I'm going to receive a notification that I'm going to be posting 2 records to the timesheet and that this process cannot be undone. If you notice here on the Insert Repost screen, there is not an Undo button. That's all right. We're going to go ahead and post the time, because once the time is posted to the physical timesheet, if you need to make additional adjustments, you could do so on the timesheet itself. So you can see here on December 2nd, the 11:30 and 12 o'clock punches inserted between the original 6:15 and the 5:30. I would also like to demonstrate to you that you as a supervisor have the ability to add additional type of non-worked hours to a timesheet. First, select the date in which you're going to add the time for. From your drop-down, you will only be able to see the pay codes in which you're allowed to enter for an employee's timesheet. If you needed to enter somebody's vacation time or travel or anything like that, you may do so. So for today's demo, I'm going to select sick leave. Remember, anything that's entered directly on the timesheet will not be reflective in the scheduler calendar. This employee is taking sick time for November 30th in the amount of 4 hours. I will enter the number of hours in the regular column. Once I do so, I can select Save. Any non-worked hours will be entered in the regular column. So you can see here on November 30th, I now have 4 hours reflective. Once I have reviewed my employee's timesheet and all the information on the timesheet is valid, and I would like to approve the timesheet, I can select the Approve button. Before I select the Approve button, though, I'd like to see the total hours on my employee's timesheet. And if you're following along on the PowerPoint still, you'll notice we just entered some non-worked hours. And we've also did the Insert Repost. But we want to look at the Approving the Timesheets in this timesheet summary. The timesheet summary is located on the bottom half of the timesheet itself, just like what the employee saw. It will break it down by the total of hours based on pay code, as well as overtime and double time hours. And if we continue to scroll to the right, we'll see the total hours worked by the employee. If those hours are correct, and I would like to approve the timesheet, I may do so by selecting the Approve icon. I receive an additional window that pops up. I've reviewed the employee timesheet and I approve, and it's approved accordingly. I will select OK again. Notice my timesheet is now moved into an approved status. The little looking glass next to it, if I wanted to verify it, will tell me exactly who approved it and what date and time it was approved. We'd like to move forward with approving time off requests that were submitted on behalf of your employees. As you recall, when we first signed in, we received notification that we had messages. They're located up here on the right-hand side of the screen. If we select those messages, it says we have 3 unread messages. The 3 unread messages are located in bold font. You can see the request is the test we made as a test demonstration for the employee perspective. If I select the request, I can actually read the request that was received. So the description was called Test Demo 2. It was submitted on December 9th at 1:54 in the afternoon. The request was a total of 8 hours, and the employee's name was Bella Test that submitted it. The 8 hours was for December 9th. The top portion of our screen does not tell us what type of time off is being requested, so if we read further down, we can actually see the information. The request was for bereavement and for the employee name and their employee number. It also gives us further details. The date was for December 9th for 8 hours. Any message that would have been left for the supervisor would also display. From this inbox message, we could actually select Approve and Decline from the top right-hand side. So notice when I click on the Approve Decline, it's going to change, and we're going to go up to the Scheduler tab, and we're in the Request now. So by selecting that Approve Decline from my inbox message, it took me to the Scheduler tab with the Request tab. So as we continue through our PowerPoint, we are now on the Approving and Declining Time Off request through the Scheduler and Request tab. Excuse me. When I'm on the Request tab, there are 4 tabs: Overview, Summary, and Detail. It automatically will take me to the detail of the time off requests that were submitted. Just for demo purposes, I just want you to see the overview. Overview is a quick shot for a period of time or date range that you want to see that has pending time off requests. In preparation for every payroll, supervisors should be looking in the system to make sure there are no time off requests that are pending their approval for the period of time which will be processed for payroll. Any pending time off requests, so in the pending column, cancel pending, or modified pending, require your attention. As you can see, in the current pay period, there's 4 pending time off requests. If I selected the blue, because it's in a hyperlink, anytime you click a hyperlink, it drills down. It will continue to take me through the tabs up above. So it will tell me, in summary, what employee has requested what type of time off request. All of these are blue hyperlinks. If you wanted to see who requested time off first, you could actually resort the column, and it will resort the column in first received order. If I go to the detail view, which is where we went immediately from our approved decline from our inbox message, we can see our detailed information. Our Bella test employee has 160 hours of vacation time available. The request for time off was made on December 9th for the date of December 11th. I have not approved anything yet, but there's multiple ways to approve it. The employee is requesting 8 hours. I can actually select that row and choose the Approve Selected if I would like to. You will receive notification if you're approving a time off request that if the employee has hours available, it will immediately post to their timesheet. Notice nothing has changed yet. Now it's gone. So once it actually processed it, it disappeared from my page. So that was one method of approving a time off request. Notice next to the Approve Selected, it's Approve All. If you ever select this button, everything on your page would be approved time off. Okay, so if you selected Approve all 3 of these time off requests would become approved. If you would like to go in and look at more detail of the information, you could actually click on the blue hyperlink for status, so the pending status, and we could actually change this to an approved decline status or even remove it from being requested. I recommend keeping with pending, approve, and decline. If you're approving time off requests and you want to leave a message for the employee, you may do so. Once you approve or decline your time off request and you leave a message for the employee will receive the message in their inbox, just like you had when they requested the time off. Notice once I selected OK, this became red. It is not completely approved yet because it's still sitting on my page. The system, if I tried to leave the page without saving, will tell me that I have things that need to be saved. So, in order to do so, I can click the Save on the top left-hand corner of the screen. I will then get the notification that my time off for approval will automatically post to the timesheet. If I chose to decline it, I could actually go into the next request, select Decline, go through the same process. It will be in red until I hit Save. As we're going through our PowerPoint demonstration, we can see that we have the ability to approve or decline each individual request. You also have the ability to do a sort on your detail tab based on the status of the time off request or even the pay codes. So as the PowerPoint's displaying, here in the detail tab, if you only wanted to see those time off requests that had been approved for the date range you have so selected, you may change your status. If you wanted to see all of them, you could also do that. Same with the pay code. You only want to see one certain type of pay code, you could do so by selecting it. For today's purpose, I'm going to select all so we can see everything right now. Maybe you don't know if you want to approve those time off requests for sure or not. One of the key things with the supervisor is using the calendar tab that's located in the scheduler, which is up here on the right-hand side. The calendar will display all of your employees that have requested time off for a specific day. It will also display if they are in a pending status, approved, or declined. So if you had 4 employees that were listed here with maybe 3 pending and 1 already approved, that should be able to help you make decisions of can you afford to have 1 more employee out for the day. So this is a quick glance to know how many other people you've already approved for time off for that specific day. One thing to note, and once again, is this calendar will only reflect time off requests that were made in the scheduler by the employee. If you as a supervisor add any type of exception, time off, non-worked hours, to a timesheet directly, it will not be reflected in the calendar. Okay. Got a little bit out of order on the PowerPoint, but the tabs in the scheduler overview, as long as you're looking at your date range, you can see the pending statuses or approved decline for the date range. As a reminder, anything that's a blue is a hyperlink that will take you to the employee's information or drill down. So once you select the next drill down option, it will take you to the summary tab that will provide you additional information such as the employee name that has a pending time off request. The detail tab will provide you additional information such as the number of hours the employee has available, what date they requested it on, and it also gives you the option to approve or decline from that detail tab. And we just discussed the scheduler, or the calendar within the scheduler, so you know how many employees are out of the office for the day. The PowerPoint gives you a better view of if you had multiple employees that had requested time off during the day for a specific day of the week, of how it would be displayed. It is color-coded as well, so you can see all that have been approved or declined. Once again, as far as the supervisor, if you have any pending time off requests that are for a period of time which is going to be processed for payroll purposes, please make sure that you have approved or declined all those time off requests for those employees for that specific period of time. That will assist in the payroll process. We're not going to go into great detail today about schedule changes, but all employees are going to be assigned to a generic shift. As we mentioned before, you can hover over the shift number on the timesheet, and it will give you a brief description in which the employee has, what shift the employee has been assigned to. So if we go back to our attendance tab and select our timesheet, you can hover over the shift number, and this particular employee, who's our test employee, is not currently assigned to any shift. If they were assigned to a Monday through Friday 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. shift, that description of their shift would appear. If your ghost display disappears, just go away from it and come right back to it. It will display again. Also, I'd like to talk about supervisor delegation. Supervisor delegation is used for instances where you may go on vacation for a short period of time, or maybe you are out ill for a short period of time. This is a temporary delegation of your responsibility to a fellow supervisor. In order to set up a delegation that's a temporary basis, not permanent, you will go to your blue toolbar and select the Preference tab. On the Preference tab, there's one option called Delegation. On the Delegation tab in row number 1, you will choose the person in which you're delegating your responsibilities to. This will display with usernames as opposed to numbers, because we don't expect you to know their number. But it will have supervisors' names that will appear from the drop-down list. For today's demo, I'm just going to select another supervisor that's in the test phase. you may enter a start and an end date for the delegation period. So if I chose December 8th to December 10th, the delegation would be given to the test supervisor from 12:01 a.m. starting on December 8th through 11:59 p.m. on December 10th. From the web access cell, you'll select supervisor delegation. From the pay code, you'll choose the work hour. And from type, you'll choose manual. If you wish to leave a supervisor that is taking on your responsibility while you're on vacation, you can also click in the cell called message and type in your message here. Once you select OK, the message will not appear until you have saved your delegation responsibility. So we're going to select Save. Once you select Save, this test supervisor, whomever you're delegating your responsibilities to, will receive a notification in their inbox. So the next time they sign in, they'll receive notification that they have been designated as your delegate in your absence. If you typed in a message, it would also give them the message that you provided to them. As the person that is a test employee, I'm going to sign out for just a second. I'm going to sign in that as the other test supervisor. Bear with me momentarily. If you have been delegated responsibilities, you'd receive a message here like I mentioned before. In the top right-hand corner, you have a new option called Switch, the toggle button. If I want to see the other supervisor's employees, because I'm currently signed in as myself, the test supervisor, if I wanted to switch and see the employees that reported to the other supervisor, I would then switch and select their name, and I will now only see information that's pertaining to that supervisor. Notice when I selected that supervisor that I'm going to take on the responsibility of, that toggle switch in the top right-hand corner has disappeared. The only way that I can log back in and see my own employees if I'm a delegated supervisor is by exiting the system and signing back in. I will then be able to see both my employees and the other supervisors again. Just want to make sure I point that out. If I sign back in as the supervisor that we've been demonstrating today, I'm going to go back in as the supervisor. I selected my team and time management. I can go back to this preferences and delegation. If I choose that I no longer want the supervisor to be a delegate, I can cancel it. Or if the date just came and went, the delegation will automatically cancel on its own. But if I change my mind, I can click on the X, it will become red, and I can select Save, and my delegation to that supervisor has now disappeared. The last item that I want to cover through the PowerPoint presentation is running of reports. Running of reports, we'll be selecting from the blue toolbar in the top of our screen, we'll be selecting the reports option. From reports, there's a report generator. And there's multiple folder names here that can be collapsed or expanded. By selecting on the folder name, the information in the center of our screen regarding the overview will change and display the reports that are available within the folder. In the Overview tab, it will give you a brief description of what each report does. These are templates, so you can choose what template you'd like to use. So once you select a file or a report template, it will move your option to the Properties tab in the center. I can come back to the Overview tab if I wanted to see information again. The Properties tab is where we'll set up filters for the report in which we want to create. This is a template, but you can still custom or select filters that you want included on the report itself. Output format will be your option between Excel or PDF or any other of the options. We do recommend that you run your report in PDF until you have the format that you prefer. Primary filter, what employees would you like to include on your report? As a supervisor, you will only be able to see information on employees and what you're allowed to see in the report themselves. Employee fields is information about the employees. Maybe you only want to see their full name. So information about the employees that will be included on the report itself. All of the down arrows are fields that you can expand and collapse as you go through. You can choose additional filters if you chose to. So I only want to run the report on somebody who had actual worked hours as opposed to any other type of hours. You could do so. If I scroll down further, data selections are your column headers. What about that employee and their time worked would you like to see on the report? I'm just going to remove some information from the report itself. I did that by selecting the item I wanted to be removed and selected the arrow to the left. If I don't want reason code on my report, I can select it and choose my arrow to the left. Same goes true if there's an item on the left-hand side of my screen that I want selected. I can choose it and move it to the right side of my screen. Date range is the period of time in which you would like the report to include information regarding. It is the same format as what we saw in the timesheet. You also have the ability to choose a custom date range. You can choose how you'd like your report sorted. Maybe it's pay group and location. Maybe you want location first. You could do so. Additional sort options, maybe within the location or pay group. Maybe you want their employee, and maybe you want it in ascending or descending order. As we continue down the screen, additional options will vary by report, and so will the other filters that are available. At the very bottom is a Publish To section. I'm going to currently expand it, and this is where we would actually save the report if we knew we wanted to save it. Remember, we currently are working with a template. If you build a report that you know you'll be using on a regular basis, we recommend that you save it to yourself so you don't have to recreate it every time. You could give it a test name here or a report name. You could also give it a description. For the demo, I'm going to do the same thing. You can choose to publish it to yourself. Publishing it to yourself is saving the report to yourself. And you can select Publish. I'm going to go ahead and select Publish, which equals Save. Now, we haven't looked at the report yet, so I'm going to scroll back to the top of the screen. If you want to look at the report so you know what you've created, the Preview tab at the top of the screen will give you a report format online. Once it pops up on your screen, you have the ability to save it to your computer. And remember, if you don't like the format being a PDF, you can change it to an Excel or any of the other options available to you. Okay, here's our sort order was by location and pay group. Here is information regarding the employee and our test employee. Now, we did save it to ourselves, so in the future, if you ever want to run the report again, you can come back over to that report list. Notice now at the top of the screen there are public reports. You will have your own folder listed up here that's associated with your user ID. Any report you save to yourself will be included under that folder. One other helpful piece of information is if you select that report and you ever want to create another report similar to it, if you select it, it will give you a brief description of what report it is and what the original template was that you used. So we've covered the running of the reports and how to view the reports on your screen, as well as how to save them to yourself for future use. At this point, we have concluded the supervisor training. As a reminder, the go live for employees beginning to punch in and out of the UTM system is December 13th. I do encourage all supervisors of signing into the system on a regular basis to ensure employees miss punches, etc., are corrected on a regular basis. It's much easier to keep up to date with your timesheets as you move through the pay period versus saving it all to do at the very end of a pay period. Because not only are you correcting timesheets at the end, but you also need to make sure all time off requests that are in a pending status have been either approved or declined prior to a payroll. If you have any further questions, please